He triggered a sacred bond. Now their fates are intertwined. The jungle didn't scream, it whispered, and that was somehow worse. Every leaf, every vine, every glistening insect seemed to watch him. Rowan Dace stood ankle-deep in the moss-covered ruins of what had once been a temple or a tomb. No one could agree. That's what made it interesting. The light filtered through the canopy above in strange, oily patterns, making the ancient carvings shimmer like wet bones. It should have been quiet, but the wind refused to touch this place. Behind him, his audio log crackled, still recording. Day 7, coordinates 41.88, structure deeper than expected, possible pre-Solari architecture. Vines are aggressive. No wildlife in perimeter, probably nothing. He paused. Probably. He should have turned back, should have tagged the site and waited for extraction, but something in the pulse of the stone beneath his boots kept whispering closer, so he moved forward, alone. The chamber at the heart of the ruin was unlike the others. Clean, untouched. The vines avoided it. In the center, nestled in the root bed of a twisted blackwood tree that had somehow grown through the ancient stone, was an object. A pendant, pale silver, beating faintly. It was breathing. Rowan's brain said, don't. His fingers said maybe just a touch. And his soul, the part of him that had always been just a little broken, a little hungry for meaning, whispered, this is what you came for. He reached in. The moment his fingertips brushed the relic, the air snapped. Not metaphorically. The temperature in the room dropped by 20 degrees. His breath came out in a cloud. The ground groaned. The light shattered into beams like a broken lens, and the pendant moved. It launched itself at his chest, embedding just below his collarbone with a hiss and a blinding flash. Rowan screamed not from pain but from something deeper. A presence massive and old slammed into his mind like a collapsing star. Voices, no memories, names he didn't know, battles he'd never fought. A woman's voice shouting in a language that hadn't been spoken in 1,000 years. Then silence. Rowan collapsed to the ground, chest heaving. The relic glowed beneath his shirt like a second heart. He tried to pull it off, but his hands wouldn't obey. They shook, twitching with electricity. His own fingers traced symbols in the dirt. He didn't recognize them, but someone did. On a hidden moon beyond known charts, a long-abandoned warship flickered to life. Its engines hummed for the first time in decades. Deep inside, sealed in a chamber of obsidian and silver, Nariah Voss, exiled queen of the Solari. Ascendancy opened her eyes. Her breath caught. She clutched her chest. No, she whispered. The bond was broken. It was supposed to be dead. A moment later, she rose, armor locking into place around her frame like a second skin. Someone just reawakened the echo. She stepped onto the bridge, eyes glowing with purpose. Set course for Alaris. Rowan hadn't slept. Not really. His body had passed out sometime after the artifact fused to his chest, but his mind that had been dragged through fire. He saw stars that had names no one remembered, moons cracked in half by silent wars. She stood on a balcony of glass and gold, addressing a crowd that chanted her name. Virea, 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 not his name. But he remembered the feeling, the weight of command, the loss behind the crown. He awoke, gasping, dirt in his mouth, fingers clawing at the relic under his skin. It didn't burn anymore. Now it hummed soft and steady like a song just beneath hearing. A second pulse synced with his own. In the sky above the jungle, the clouds shifted unnaturally. One blink and a streak of light appeared, brief, sharp, and impossibly fast. Not a shooting star, a ship. Somewhere in his bones, he knew it was coming for him. 3 systems away, aboard the vessel of return. The ship was ancient. Its architecture curved like a memory-polished black alloy, kissed with etched silver glyphs. Its core pulsed not with fuel, but with memory. It remembered where it had been and who it had once served. Nariah Voss stood barefoot in the meditation chamber, surrounded by echoes of the past. projected fragments of battles long lost, of her people kneeling, of her brother's betrayal, of the echo being severed. But now it stirred again. She could feel it not as a memory, but as a presence. Faint and clumsy, but undeniably real, her echo bond. She should have destroyed the last fragment of the relic years ago. Instead, she had locked it away on Alaris, buried beneath vines, and guilt praying it would die quietly. But the universe had other plans. She clenched her fist. If the bond is reformed, they'll come for him. They'll come for me. A hologram blinked to life beside her, sleek, angular, and colored in threat red. Unidentified signal originating from Alaris. The AI intoned. Cross-frequency spike, Echo confirmed. 2 factions already en route. 1 masked. She narrowed her eyes. Null-born remnants. The AI pulsed. Probability 82%. Nariah turned, walking briskly toward the command bridge. As the doors hissed open, she spoke with a voice she hadn't used in a decade. Full jump prep. Weapons primed. He doesn't know what's inside him, but if they reach him first, it won't matter. The crew, only a handful of loyalists, nodded without a word. The stars warped, and the hunt began. Back on Alaris, edge of the forest. Rowan made it back to the expedition tent by instinct alone. Vines parted for him, literally. They pulled away as if they sensed what now rested in his chest. The same tent that once felt like safety now felt too small, too human. He stumbled in, collapsing on the cot as his comms unit blinked back to life. Vera's voice crackled through the static. "Rowan, are you alive? We lost your signal 6 hours ago. What the hell happened?" He opened his mouth to answer, but a voice answered for him. Not his, not human. He is awakened. The comms unit exploded in a burst of white noise. Rowan stared at the smoking panel, heart racing. Outside, the jungle had gone completely silent. No insects, no wind, just the sound of something massive descending through the clouds. And in his head, clearer now, the voice returned. A woman's voice. "Don't run. You'll only make it worse." Rowan bolted. The storm didn't come from the clouds. It came from her. A shape knifed through the atmosphere above Alaris, trailing gold fire and burning silence. The jungle below shivered, trees bent without wind, birds erupted from the canopy like fleeing memories. The heat didn't come from engines, and the sound wasn't sonic. It was psychic. Like the planet itself recognized her return and feared it. The vessel of return descended with impossible grace, its hull adjusting mid-air, refracting light around its sleek form like glass, bending under pressure. By the time it touched down on a flat ridge above Rowan's campsite, the moss had blackened, and the dirt underneath steamed. Rowan stood at the tree line, pulse thundering. He didn't know what he was looking at, only that it had come for him. The ship's side opened with no ramp, no sound, just a fold in reality, like someone unzipping the world. And then she stepped out. Nariah Voss. Her armor didn't shine, it absorbed. Black like void stone, curved and jointed, etched in silver threads that pulsed with soft rhythm, not battle-worn but regal, like she hadn't seen war. She commanded it, her eyes silver gold, ancient, locked onto Rowan immediately. She didn't speak, didn't need to. Rowan's knees buckled. The bond, whatever it was, exploded in his mind. Not pain, not exactly. It was weight. A tidal wave of memory pressing down on his neurons like they were scaffolding being rewired. Visions poured in. Nariah's childhood on Illyra Prime, marble towers, bioluminescent gardens, her training beneath the echo cradle, her exile, her grief, then her voice inside his skull. No comms, no translation. "You activated the bond." He staggered back. I didn't mean to. Intent is irrelevant. Resonance is absolute. She stepped closer. He backed up. His boots sank into soft moss that sparked faintly with every movement. "Look, I was just doing recon. I didn't know what that necklace thing was." It wasn't a necklace. Her tone didn't rise. didn't need to. It leapt on me. Her eyes narrowed. For the first time, she looked almost amused. Almost. Then it chose well. Rowan blinked. "Excuse me," Nariah reached out. Not threatening, not gentle either. Like a queen offering her hand to a stunned peasant. The moment her fingers brushed his, a surge of energy flashed between them, white, blue, raw, ancient. The trees around them groaned, vines recoiled. Somewhere in the distance, a mountain cracked. Rowan dropped to one knee, clutching his chest. The artifact flared under his skin, pulsing in time with her breath. "Phase 1 alignment," she murmured. "It begins elsewhere, orbiting Ilaris." The cloaked ship watched the encounter unfold. No weapons, no insignia, just shadows behind glass and a single word in a guttural dialect transmitted across dead channels confirmed. The echo lives. The nullborn agents aboard stirred, uncoiling from hibernation, not with purpose, with hunger. Back in the clearing, Rowan struggled to stand. "You keep talking about this bond. What is it?" Nariah looked down at him, not unkindly, but like someone staring at a puzzle they thought they'd already solved. "You are now echo-bound. You carry my resonance, my lineage, my mistakes. Can we undo it?" A pause. "Not anymore." He closed his eyes. The jungle rustled. A warning. Nariah's ears twitched. Her head snapped toward the trees. She didn't speak, but Rowan saw it in her posture. They weren't alone. Something else had arrived, and it didn't come to talk. The first scream didn't come from a throat. It came from the trees. Rowan spun as the jungle behind him convulsed vines, writhing bark, blistering leaves, curling inward like terrified hands. The temperature dropped 10 degrees in a blink, and then it dropped again. Frost cracked across his boots even as sweat poured down his spine. Something was being born, or worse, reborn. Nariah Voss raised one hand, not in panic, in reverence, like a priestess greeting a god she had once helped bury. "Stay behind me," she said, and this time her voice was audible, as if the bond between them had opened the channel wider. Rowan drew his sidearm through it, trembled in his grip. "What the hell is that?" Her answer was immediate. A riftborne. The word meant nothing to him until the thing stepped into view. It didn't walk, it glided, hovering inches above the moss, cloaked in a shifting membrane of dimensional tears. Its body flickered, part skeletal, part starlight. Limbs moved with liquid delay, as though every action was being rendered a second too late. Where its face should have been, there was only a fractured mirror, reflecting distorted versions of Rowan's own horror-stricken expression. A riftborne wasn't made. A riftborne was left behind. "Is it alive?" he asked, swallowing. "No," Nariah said. "It's remembering." The creature shrieked, not in pain, not in rage, but like 1,000 voices trying to speak through a single broken throat. The sound hit Rowan like a hammer. His ears rang. Blood trickled. His vision doubled. Nariah didn't flinch. Instead, she raised her palm, and light spiraled outward from the silver veins across her armor, runes pulsing with tempo, like a heartbeat shared across time. The riftborne paused. It recognized her. Rowan's breath hitched. "It knows you." Nariah's eyes narrowed. "It remembers my failure." And then it lunged. She moved before he could blink, sidestepping, drawing a blade not from a sheath, but from thin air liquid light, solidifying into a curved weapon that thrummed like a tuning fork made of sorrow. The clash was brief but brutal. The riftborne struck with its whole form, rippling like a wave of entropy. Nariah parried, kicked, drove her blade deep into its center. It screeched. The jungle howled. For a second, Rowan could see memories spilling out of the wound, images of a burning temple, a throne collapsing, Nariah on her knees before a dying star. And then silence. The riftborne collapsed into itself, its form folding inward, like paper consumed by flame. Nothing remained but frost and a soft echo that lingered far too long. Rowan stumbled toward her. "What the hell was that thing?" Nariah lowered her weapon. The riftborne are echoes of those touched by unstable bonds. When a connection fails or is severed improperly, they don't die, they unravel. He felt a chill crawl across his spine. You're saying, if this bond between us breaks, you'll become that, she said, or worse. They stood in the quiet that followed. The trees stopped trembling, the moss dimmed, but something above them stirred, a pulse in the clouds. Nariah's gaze snapped skyward. They've seen the activation. Rowan followed her gaze. What now? Her voice was low. Now we run, and you learn, or we both become shadows. The sky over Valak's hollow shattered like a dropped mirror. Cracks of lightning split the clouds not from any storm, but from signal breaches invisible to the untrained eye. Nariah didn't flinch. She was already moving, dragging Rowan by the arm through the pulsing roots of the jungle. As the first tracking probes pierced the canopy above, they weren't alone anymore. We have about 4 minutes before they triangulate our location, she said, voice clipped tight. Wait, who's they? Rowan panted, stumbling over a bioluminescent vine that hissed when he stepped on it. You mean more of those riftborne worse? She replied, pushing through a wall of dangling moss. We're being hunted by the archivists. Rowan nearly tripped again. I thought the archivists were extinct. They are, officially. He caught the flicker of something sharp in her expression. Anger, maybe guilt, but it vanished as she scanned the terrain with eyes that seemed to glow faintly under the pressure of the bond. They broke through the last stretch of trees and emerged onto a collapsed observation platform, centuries old, scorched by planetary warfare and abandoned by all but ghosts. Wires still hung like skeletal vines swaying in the windless air. Below a steep drop into the ravine, known only on pre-war maps as the Pulse Scar. We can't jump that, Rowan said. Nariah didn't answer. She walked to the edge, pulled a shard of metal from her belt, and threw it. Halfway down, it hovered, shimmered, then clicked into a solid, light bridge, spanning the chasm like an invisible spiderweb. Rowan blinked. Okay, that's not terrifying. Move. They ran. Halfway across Rowan's comms pack buzzed a signal piercing through the interference. Nariah spun. Don't answer it. I'm not... But it was already too late. The signal wasn't a voice. It was a memory. His. Projected without permission, without interface. Rowan saw his own childhood flicker in the mist. His sister's laughter, a campfire on Terra Minor. The last conversation with his mother before the war stole her. The light bridge flickered beneath his feet. They're scraping your signal, Nariah shouted. Using your memories to unravel the bond's stability, Rowan gritted his teeth. How do I stop it? Don't resist, accept, filter, reinforce the core link with me. You've got to focus on us, not them. Rowan closed his eyes, bracing against the wind, if it was wind. In his mind, the bond shimmered like a silver thread running from his chest into hers. He grabbed it, held it tight. Nariah's voice, clear, calm inside him, guided the resonance. Anchor it. Lock your thoughts to mine. The interference cracked, then shattered like ice beneath heat. The bridge stabilized. Rowan gasped, stumbling forward. Nariah caught him at the final platform. They had made it across. Behind them, the ridge exploded, 3 sleek black vessels, screaming into view above the canopy, flares of energy lighting their underbellies. Extraction ships, Nariah muttered. They're escalating. Why us? She turned face cold. Because the bond isn't just sacred, it's forbidden now. The archivists want to control it. The Directorate wants to erase it. And we're the only proof it still works. Rowan swallowed. So what does that make us? Her eyes met his. Dangerous. And above them, high in orbit, a signal carrier lit up, the first of many. A call had gone out across the stars, not just that the bond had awakened, but that the last bonded pair were on the run. And every faction, human, machine, and memory bound was coming. The tunnels beneath the Pulse Scar were never mapped. They weren't supposed to exist, remnants of pre-directive civilizations carved by a species that communicated not with words or code, but with resonant sound. The stones still hummed with their memory, not voices, not language, emotion. Nariah dropped into the first chamber with a quiet grunt, dust rising around her boots as the ancient ground groaned under her weight. Rowan followed, landing with less grace, nearly spraining an ankle on a jagged slope of crystalline ore. His ears popped. The pressure down here was different, denser, as if the planet itself were listening. "This place is vibrating," he muttered, hand against the wall, like it's alive. "It is," Nariah said without turning. "You just don't understand the frequency yet." The coralite in her chest pulsed in sync with the stone. One beat, then another. Rowan's followed, not consciously. It simply obeyed. He stepped beside her, blinking into the low-lit cavern. Then he heard it. A song. No lyrics. Just pure, aching resonance echoing from the deepest corners of the earth, like it had been trapped for centuries and finally remembered how to sing. His legs went weak. "What is that?" The chorus of the bound. Nariah whispered. "Fragments of all who came before. The ancient bonded pairs, their final thoughts, their pain, their vows. The resonance fields down here hold them like a library." The bond between them flared suddenly violently. Rowan gasped. His breath caught. 1,000 emotions not his rushed into his head. Grief, rage, devotion, surrender. A man screaming a name as he fell into fire. A woman smiling as she activated a failsafe to save her people, knowing it would kill her. A pair dancing through starlight hand in hand before the void swallowed them. Rowan staggered back, hand to his chest. "It's too much," he said through gritted teeth. "I can't hold all of it." Nariah caught him, her grip firm. "Don't hold it. Sing it." He blinked at her. "What? It's not memory. It's echo. You're not supposed to carry it like weight. You're supposed to let it pass through." She placed her palm to the wall. Her core light flared. A tone rang out clear, beautiful, impossibly low. It resonated in his bones, and the stone answered. The chamber shifted. Slabs of ore folded downward like petals. Vines of circuitry long dead reignited with faint gold light. And in the center of it all, a stasis shell rose from the ground, humming in harmony with the bond. Inside it, suspended in crystal, a child. Rowan's heart stopped. "That's human." Nariah nodded. "Half." He turned to her, voice hoarse. "Whose child is that?" She didn't answer, not directly. Instead, she whispered, "The first experimental bond between species was forged here. Before the fall of the First Accord, before the archivists outlawed the Union. That child is what made them afraid, and they sealed it here. They couldn't kill it, not without breaking the lattice itself, so they buried the evidence." Rowan stared at the sleeping figure. Her skin shimmered with faint spectral light. Her small hands twitched in dreams too old for any child to bear. He felt something rise inside his chest, not from him, but through him, a need to protect. Nariah looked at him and knew. She's connected to us now. The moment we stepped into this chamber, the bond extended. Rowan's mouth went dry. "Are you saying she's part of the resonance web?" "No," Nariah said. "I'm saying she's the next node. And if we don't get her out of here before the archivists find her..." She didn't need to finish. Rowan felt it. In his teeth, in his blood. A new presence had entered the chamber, a soundless tremor, a song out of tune. "They're here," he whispered. Nariah turned to the stasis cradle. "Then we wake her." The moment the stasis seal broke, the chamber shivered. A high-pitched hum bled into the air, not loud but dense like pressure building inside the skull. Rowan covered his ears instinctively, but it didn't help. This wasn't sound traveling through air. It was something older, deeper, a frequency meant for minds. The stasis cradle bloomed open, with unnatural grace segments unfolding like the petals of a metallic flower. The girl inside blinked, first one eye, then the other. Black irises with a silver corona, like galaxies compressed into something fragile and alive. Her skin was soft, translucent along the edges, where light bled through her veins in faint pulses. Hair floated around her like strands of liquid night. Then she gasped, convulsed, and sat up all at once. Rowan stepped back. Nariah didn't flinch. The girl's mouth moved, but no sound emerged. Her lips trembled, her hands clawed weakly at the air, as if trying to remember how to breathe. "She's sinking," Nariah murmured, the bonds trying to stabilize her against a world she doesn't recognize. "What's her name?" Rowan asked. Nariah's answer came too fast. "Eliara." He looked at her. You knew Nariah didn't meet his gaze. She was never supposed to wake. The girl, Eliara, turned her head toward them. Her voice arrived not through air, but directly into their minds. "Why does it hurt?" Rowan winced. The question wasn't emotional, it was code. The way she spoke was like a query to the void itself, sharp, ancient, programmed, but afraid. Nariah crouched beside her because the accord was broken, and you're the proof. That's when the ceiling split open. A vertical fissure tore through the roof of the chamber as the earth screamed. Chunks of ancient ore fell like shattered bone. From above, spotlights seared through the darkness, lancing into the ruins with surgical precision. A dropship descended silent and black, emblazoned with the sigil of the archivist, enclave, a spiral eye ever watching. Rowan grabbed Nariah's arm. "We have to move now, too late." A sound like static thunder rippled through the cavern. Then they landed. 6 of them. Tall, pale, encased in skin-tight reflective armor. Not soldiers, excavators. The Archivist's retrieval unit. Tasked not with diplomacy, but with containment. The lead one stepped forward. His face an unreadable mask of polished black steel. He didn't speak with his mouth. Instead, his voice boomed directly into their heads. "Surrender the anomaly." Eliara whimpered, curling inward. Rowan stepped in front of her instinctively. "We're not giving you a child." She is not a child. She is an echo catalyst, illegally activated, unlawfully bonded. Under Directive 11, she will be returned to Vault Seta for deactivation. Nariah stood beside Rowan now, calm despite the pulse hammering through the chamber. She was buried alive. "You think that's protocol? Emotion is not admissible." The archivists raised their arms. Gauntlets unfolded into spires of energy ready to fire. Rowan's coralite flared, so did Eliara's. The resonance hit like a detonation of silence. Everything in the room froze. Time didn't stop, but it stuttered. Lights flickered. The archivists staggered backward, balance lost in the invisible wave that expanded outward like a living scream. Eliara stood. She didn't walk. She rose, hovering a few inches above the ground hair, lifting in a halo of unspoken data. "This is not containment," she said, her voice like shattered stars. "This is invasion." And then the pulse hit. It radiated out from her coralite raw, untethered, ancient power. The archivists dropped as if their strings had been cut, systems glitching armor, shorting visors cracking from within. One managed to hiss, "It's happening again." Then the ceiling collapsed. Dust, stone, fire. Rowan dragged Nariah behind an upturned slab of synth stone as the ruins crumbled. When the smoke cleared, the chamber was broken, but they were alive. Eliara stood at the center, untouched, eyes glowing with residual light. I didn't mean to hurt them," she whispered. "You didn't," Nariah said softly. "The bond protected you. You're only beginning to remember what you are." Rowan exhaled. "What is she?" Nariah met his eyes. The Accord's last heir, the one thing both sides feared, would awaken. The sky above the ruins wept violet. Storm lines etched across the clouds like fractures in memory, echoes of the rift pulse that had erupted from Eliara's awakening. Birds, or what passed for them on Messael, circled erratically in the distance, their calls strange and uncertain. Rowan stood on the ridge overlooking the smoldering crater where the archivist dropship had been ripped apart from within. No bodies, just scorched armor and flickers of residual data still crawling across the wreckage like dying fireflies. Nariah sat beside a fallen pillar, knees hugged to her chest. Her fingers traced slow lines into the dust, not random. Symbols, glyphs, languages older than any known database. They burned faintly where she touched them. "She's writing in a chord script," Nariah said, her voice low, cautious. Rowan glanced at her. "You mean the lost dialect? I mean the one that predates the Rift Wars, before the separation of memory and matter, before Coralite." Rowan's brow furrowed. "She's remembering it. She is it." Nariah knelt beside Nariah. "Hey, what are you feeling?" Nariah didn't look up. Loud in here." She tapped her head. "There's too much. It's like I'm a door someone forgot to close." Nariah placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. "You don't have to hold it all alone." "But it's mine," Nariah whispered. "The bond chose. It linked to him." Her eyes lifted, shimmering with silver. "To both of you." Rowan's stomach tightened. "What does that mean?" "It means," said a voice from behind them, "that the Accord is reforming." Rowan whirled, pulse rifle already half raised, only to freeze. Standing at the edge of the ruins was Commander Voss, exiled, thought dead. Once a senior operative in the Accord's final cycle. He looked not young, not old, worn, like history had walked through him and left some of its pieces behind. His coat was layered in ash, the emblem on his chest faded but still visible, the spiral eye broken in two. Voss, Nariah breathed. "You vanished during the fade collapse." "Because I saw what was coming." Rowan didn't lower his weapon. "You're supposed to be a ghost." "And yet," Voss stepped forward, "I've been waiting for her to wake." He looked at Nariah with something close to reverence and terror. "She's the lock," he said, "and the key. The riftborne aren't just weapons, they're bridges, sentient conduits." The bond was never about unity, it was about containment, of what Rowan asked. Voss turned his eyes to the horizon, the echo entity. What lies between thoughts, the thing that slips in when minds connect too deeply. The Accord tried to erase it from memory. They failed. Nariah stood, the glyphs beneath her now pulsing like a heartbeat. "I've felt it," she said softly. "In the dark, a presence that listens back." Voss nodded. "And now that you're awake, so is it." A silence fell too deep, too intentional. Then the wind changed, not physically, psychically. Rowan staggered back as a pressure collapsed inward on his thoughts. An intrusion, not painful but hungry. Something ancient, intelligent, and curious had just noticed them. "I hear it," Nariah whispered. "It's watching." Rowan turned to Nariah. "What do we do?" Voss answered. "You run," he said. "You find the last relay, the one the Accord never mapped, the one hidden in the song route archives. And you," Rowan asked. "I delay it, you'll die. I'm already dead in the archives. Better to earn the legend." The ground shook beneath them. The air vibrated like a plucked string. No time left. Nariah grabbed Nariah's hand. "Come on. If we can reach the relay, we can seal the bond. Lock the echo out, or in." Nariah's eyes shimmered. "I'm scared." Rowan crouched beside her. "Me too. But scared people change the world all the time." And with that, they ran out of the ruins into the broken jungle, leaving behind the hum of awakening shadows and a man ready to burn his name into the void one final time. The jungle had turned against them. Trees twisted skyward like skeletal arms, their bark scorched and weeping sap that shimmered with faint traces of data. Somewhere deeper in the thickets, distant animals howled in tones that bent unnaturally, like the pitch was too close to language. Rowan slashed through hanging vines with a short blade dulled by years of fieldwork, his every muscle screaming. The air had thickened, charged with something unnatural. Reality here wasn't stable, not anymore. Behind him, Nariah adjusted the field dampener strapped to her back, its pulse now flickering. "We're losing the veil. Whatever's following us, it's sinking with the bond." Eliara stumbled beside them, wrapped in a too large survival cloak that didn't hide the faint glow pulsing from her collarbone. The glyphs on her skin were shifting, spelling new forms, new warnings. "It's not just following," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "It's inside. I feel it walking behind my eyes." Rowan halted. They'd reached a clearing. At its center stood a monolith, not stone, not metal, memory shaped into structure. It stood 30 feet tall, carved with the spiral insignia of the pre-fall accord. Vines curled around its base, but the upper half shimmered, phased slightly out of sync with the world around it, flickering like a bad broadcast. Nariah's breath caught. This is it, the final relay. Eliara moved first. As she stepped into the clearing, the trees pulled back, not physically but mentally, as if the planet itself knew who she was, who she carried. The monolith pulsed. A low hum rippled outward, disrupting the air, shivering across their teeth. Then the sky broke open. A thin silver line sliced through the clouds overhead. Not lightning, not fire, a fracture. Through it poured the sound of a memory too big to die. The echo entity had found them. Nariah grabbed Eliara's hand and dragged her toward the base of the monolith. This relay runs on thought. Synced minds, Rowan link with her. He didn't hesitate. He dropped to his knees beside Eliara and placed both hands on the glowing marks on her arms. The bond flared hotter than ever before. He didn't feel her hand. He felt her life. Memories he'd never lived streamed through him. A silver tower falling through a glass sky, a lullaby sung in a dialect no longer spoken, a moment of laughter on a rusted ship before the storm took everything. "Focus," Nariah shouted, slamming her palm into the relay's interface. "You two have to synchronize completely, but it's too much." Rowan grunted, sweat pouring down his face. "She's more than one mind. She's the archive," Rowan. Nariah barked. "You're not syncing to a person. You're syncing to a civilization that remembers itself." The monolith split. A beam of raw memory, white and gold, shot into the sky, striking the fracture. And for a moment, the world went still. Then resistance. The fracture bled. Violet and black threads of anti-thought coiled down like tendrils, screaming without sound. The echo was fighting back. Eliara's body shuddered, her voice echoed twofold. "It's in the relay. It's trying to invert the signal." Rowan reached for her face, cupped her cheeks. His voice broke. "Look at me. Stay with me." She did. And suddenly they were inside. Not in the forest, not on Messiel, but suspended in a blank field of memory light. The echo was there, formless. Its presence rippled as jagged reflections of past horrors, conflicts it had fed upon, betrayals it had magnified. It moved between Rowan and Eliara like a wedge, whispering their worst fears in psychic static. "You are not chosen," it hissed. "You are afraid. Alone. Dying." "No," Rowan said, stepping between it and Eliara. "We're not alone." And then he opened the bond. Completely. No walls, no filters. His pain, his love, his failures, all of it. Eliara did the same. And the bond didn't break, it sang. The relay surged. The echo screamed. The fracture in the sky sealed. The memory light collapsed back into the monolith. The jungle roared around them, and then silence. Rowan collapsed. Eliara caught him. The glyphs on her skin faded, leaving only a single mark, the eye of a cord pulsing once before dimming. "It's gone," Nariah said, breathless. "We did it." Eliara turned to Rowan. "You came back," she said. "I always will." Behind them, the sky cleared. For the first time in days, the air felt clean. But Rowan knew the bond had changed them. And this fight, it wasn't over. The sun rose over Messiel like it had forgotten how to be gentle. Not a golden light, but a piercing blade of white cutting through the jungle canopy and igniting dew into steam. The monolith behind them, now dormant, cast a long, solemn shadow across the clearing. It stood as proof that the memory war had begun again, even if the world wasn't ready. Rowan stood at the edge of the clearing, his breathing steady but not calm. In his chest, the bond still pulsed. Fainter now, but deeper. No longer a flicker of connection, a foundation. He didn't just feel Nariah anymore. He understood her as if her thoughts had carved a path through his skull and decided to stay there. Behind him, Nariah knelt in the soft moss fingers buried in the dirt. She wasn't glowing now, not visibly, but the power still lived in her, coiled and quiet like a storm waiting for the next fault line. "We should go," Nariah said. "We've got maybe an hour before the satellites overhead align again. If the Accord sends a sweep, they'll pinpoint the relay site." Rowan turned to her, "And if they do, then they'll see what we've become." Nariah stepped forward and handed him a data shard. Encrypted logs of everything. The relay burst, the echo interaction, the merge signature. "If we die, this goes to the archives." Rowan nodded. He looked down at the shard, then slipped it into the slot behind his armor's collar. It clicked into place like it had always belonged there. They began the hike toward the evac site. Each step was surreal. The jungle that once twisted and resisted now bent away from their path. The vines recoiled. The air shimmered with deference, like the planet had seen what they'd done and chose to step aside. At the ridge above the crater, the dropship waited, scarred, scorched, but operational. No escort, no crew, just one figure leaning against the hull. A woman, mid-40s, officer's uniform torn and patched. Her eyes sharp, her voice sharper. "You idiots broke protocol 12 times, she said without greeting. "And you severed 3 memory sanctuaries in one blast. Any idea what kind of paperwork that triggers?" Rowan frowned. "You're not here to arrest us." "Oh, I'm definitely here to arrest you. I'm just debating whether it's worth the headache." She walked forward, stopping just short of Nariah. Her gaze softened. "I saw the pulse, saw the relay. The echo screamed all the way to high orbit. Whatever you did, it worked." "It's not over," Nariah said. "The echo isn't dead, just dormant. It'll search again." "Then let it search," the officer said. "We'll be waiting." Rowan stepped up beside her. "You're with the resistance." She smiled. "Not sly, not cocky, but tired. I'm with the ones who remember what the Accord used to be. Before they started rewriting memory like data, before truth became a choice." She handed Rowan a beacon key. "You're not soldiers anymore. You're witnesses, living conduits. If you stay here, they'll dissect you." Rowan looked at Nariah. She gave a quiet nod. The officer turned. "There's a ship in the belt. Call sign Foresight. Crew of misfits. Brilliant. Mad. Loyal. They've been waiting for a signal." Rowan raised an eyebrow. "What signal?" The officer pointed to him. "You." Behind them, the wind shifted. A pulse, not sound, but sensation, rippled across the horizon. The core inside Nariah blinked once, and from deep space far beyond Messiel's moons, a dozen forgotten satellites lit up, each bearing the same mark etched on the relay. The eye of Accord. Only now it blinked open. Signals burst from them like rays of coded dawnlight, reaching toward distant systems, stirring other cores, other minds. Across the stars, sleepers began to wake. The echo wasn't the only thing that had remembered, and neither was Nariah. As the dropship ascended through the morning clouds, Rowan sat beside her in silence. No words needed. The bond no longer whispered. It simply was. At 35,000 feet, he opened the comms panel, set the frequency to open range, and spoke. "To anyone listening, we're not myths, we're not weapons, we're not alone. We remember, and we're coming home. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. If you want more stories like this about love, memory, and the things we fight for, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It keeps the story going. And trust me, the next one is already waking up."